he was in Silicon Valley, he was unusual, but there were a lot of unusual people. And there always has been very, very talented people. I think it's better to aspire to somebody who you think has lived next door to you. And this is what you see in Silicon Valley. There are people next door to you who invented things that you didn't know. Now you all of a sudden meet them. I mean, Steve Wozniak was a neighbor of ours. My wife was in politics. His wife walked precincts handing out pamphlets for my wife. So you didn't know this Steve Wozniak growing up. You thought he was going to become a bum. Right? He became one of the inventors. So these people were kind of ordinary people put in a tiny place that they took advantage of. We're all that way. We all have a tiny place in which we can take advantage of whatever it is we want to be, we want to become.
Yeah, that's perfect. But when we think from the perspective of the leadership, I mean, quite a few years ago, decades ago, he already had the vision that leadership, management, don't have to look for manage, but look to inspire vision for their employees. This is what we learn nowadays on the MBAs. And this is what he thinks and what he proved in 40 years ago.
Yes.
So he was a visionary, definitely.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that he had even some weakness from his perspective as management people.
We all do.
On the other side, yeah, exactly. So on the other side, he was a great leader from the perspective of inspiring a vision for the people.
Absolutely. But lots of people have the vision. Very few people have the sustainability to make it happen over time. And so while he would look at something, the engineer would come in and say, here's what he would say, go do this. They'd go and they'd come back and he'd say, no, make it smaller, make it better, make it faster. And they would say, we can't. He said, try. Yeah. And they would go. And they would come back and they would be better. And so he would keep pushing people to create this vision that he had in his mind of what that product should be. That's what he was really, really good at. And I don't think we're going to see anybody like that again. I don't think so. Because it was a time and place. He could, and so now there may be other Steve Jobs, but they're going to be in a new time and place and do new kinds of vision. Maybe Zuckerberg is that guy. I don't know. But somebody's going to take advantage of the technology and the social activity at the time and say, how do these things all come together? And I think that's what Steve did. He was very aware of what was going on in the world and in the technology world. He didn't know quite how to piece it all together. The engineers did. But he knew what he wanted and he would force them to get what he wanted. And he became pretty nasty at times to make that happen. Okay. I never once, and I knew him for 35 years, I never once had any negative experience with him. No shouting, no you do this or yelling at me or anything. Never once.
But he was very demanding.
But he was very, not to me.
People.
Well,
in general, no.
No, yeah, people he was very demanding. Yeah. And he had lots of shouting matches and lots of, intimidating, yells and fits. And you can read about him. I mean, he's sometimes very negative. I never had that experience, never once. On the other hand, when he went back to Apple, I didn't want to work for him. And I told him that. He did offer me, to come back and do some coaching and all that. And I said, no. I want to be your friend. I'd rather be your friend than employee.
What do you miss more about Steve Jobs?
I just miss him as a person. Just as a person. Not the Steve Jobs everybody knows, but when he would call him, a human being. He was a real, really lovely person.
Big pleasure being here and listening to you. It's
great.
great.
I'm sorry again it took so long.
Thank you very much.
Stay warm.
Regis McKenna. What was the greatest adventure you had with Steve Jobs, but personally?
Personally?
Yes.
I took him to San Francisco to buy his first suit.
Yes.
First suit.
First suit. Really?
And we walked around New York all the time.
What
together.
was you doing there? Just a suit.
Well, he never wore a suit. You know, when he, you know, I mean, he wore jeans and he wore so forth. But whenever, in the early days when he was going, the company was going to go public, he had to go to New York and meet with financial analysts and so forth. Actually, he, at a time, there was a time when he bought. I mean, we would, Wilkes Bastidores is very famous. I don't know if they have them here. Very sort of advanced, sort of stylish place in San Francisco. And I used to buy my suits there, I still do. And I took him there, and I introduced him, and they fitted him out, and then he would go back there and buy them. He'd pick out ties and shirts and everything, and he wore them for a long time. It changed a lot over periods of time. And I think later on he went back to wearing the jeans and the t-shirts. But at
You
one
enjoyed
point,
them.
yeah, and then walking around New York. We would go to New York quite a bit. We always stayed at the St. Regis. I did because that's how I could find my way back to it. And it was my name. And there was, in the restaurant there was this mural that was painted by Maxwell Parrish. It was sort of a very kind of stylistic drawing, but he loved that painting, so we would always go there and have breakfast or lunch, and then we would walk. We walked all the way from down in Manhattan, the lower part of Manhattan, all the way up to the St. Regis at times, just walking along Fifth Avenue for take us 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever to walk and just talk. We walked along the beaches at down to Monterey. You know, we had conferences and we went out. And one story I didn't tell was the Macintosh. I told you the people were not. I don't think the people there were that confident, and so we were getting very close to the Mac introduction. And Steve was walking along the beach, and he said, "You know, we don't have a marketing plan." And he said, "I haven't even seen that." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll write it, and I'll give it to you, but don't tell anybody I wrote it, because I didn't want his people to get mad at his marketing people." So I gave him, that weekend I wore it on the back, I wrote the marketing plan, I gave it to him. He gave it to his marketing, he says, "Here's what we want to do." And so I never told anybody that I did it, because they would, you know, my people had to work with his marketing people, and they'd be mad, because both at Intel and at Apple, I worked for the top management. I knew them when they were founders. And then I started growing, and I had people then doing things, and the people at Apple who came in and were hired, you know, I was on the executive staff, and the people who were basically supposed to manage me were down several layers. It made a conflict of me being going to all the staff meetings. I had a higher position in the company, even though I wasn't an employee than most of the vice presidents. And so it made it very uncomfortable, because my employees, you know, and I had that problem with Oracle, because I was on the board of Oracle and my people were trying to do work for them. And everybody was afraid, because they said, well, if we screw up, Regis is going to tell the president. And Intel the same thing. So I often had to resign from all these positions in companies so my company could survive, because my people had this conflict. So, but it was wonderful to have those stories at the top level.
That's great.
Regis,
Thank you.
would you give me the pleasure of taking a picture?
Sure. Please.